Hi there, and welcome to my Fashion Stories Box podcast, a podcast about stories in fashion history. I am Catherine, and I am so glad to welcome you here. Let's discover together interesting facts about fashion and history and fashion history. Fashion and love. On one side, it seems as the perfect match. Isn't fashion a declaration of love by itself? Don't we use fashion to declare our love to a period of time, to an outfit, to a brand, to a designer, to the others and to ourselves? Don't fashion designers create out of love for their heart, out of love for creativity and imagination? And on the other hand, fashion and love can look like a paradox. If we look at the competition between the fashion players, the brands and designers and models, the hidden side of fashion is not all about love or respect, and you need to deal with wounded personalities looking for constant reassurance and support, overinflated egos, humiliations. That is the reason why the fashion show Love Brings Love, which took place at the end of the October 2021 Paris Fashion Week, caught my attention. During this show, which took place at Le Carreau du Temple in Paris, 46 designers paid tribute to the late Alber Elbaz. Who was Alber Elbaz, and why did he have such an homage from the fashion world after his passing away? What is his project, the AZ Factory, about? What does this show tell us about the relationships between designers in the fashion industry, and why do I see it as a powerful love declaration? These are some of the questions for which I will try to find answers in this episode of my Fashion Stories Box podcast. Alber Elbaz was born in Casablanca, Morocco, in 1961. When he was still a baby, his parents moved to Israel, where he studied at the Shenkar College of Engineering and Design in Ramat Gan. At the age of 24, he moved to New York to work in the fashion industry, an interest he had since childhood. Over the course of his career, he worked for many brands at the French house Gris Laroche ready-to-wear line, Yves Saint Laurent, Lanvin, Acne Studio, among others. In 2019, he launched his own line, AZ Fashion, and in 2021, the AZ Factory with the Swiss group Richemont. At the center of his brand was the will to develop solutions for women of our times by creating streamlined foundational basics and technical needs, which Alber Elbaz called switchwear. He died of COVID-19 in April 24, 2021, at the age of 59. Alber had a richly deserved reputation as one of the industry's brightest and most beloved figures. I was always taken by his intelligence, sensitivity, generosity, and unbridled creativity. He was a man of exceptional warmth and talent, and his singular vision, sense of beauty, and empathy leave an indelible impression. These are words by the Richemont Group CEO Joan Rupert when the death of Alber Elbaz was announced. Through these words, we have an insight of what has been the personality of Alber Elbaz, a designer who found himself a bit like a misfit in this fashion world with his physiognomy. And because of him being voluptuous in forms, I don't like the word fat, he wanted to design outfits that were at the same time feminine and functional, timeless and elegant, to celebrate every type of bodies. He seemed to have a personality not attracted by the star system which surrounds famous fashion designers, and I read in several articles that he was considering himself as a simple worker working for a luxury hotel and meeting with celebrities and famous people as part of his jobs, and in the evenings he would come back home for a normal life with his partner. In 2015, while receiving the Fashion Group International Award, he said, quote, "We designers, we started as couturiers asking, what do women want? What do women need? What can I do for a woman to make her life better and easier? How can I make a woman more beautiful?" We became creative directors, so we had to create, but mostly direct. And now we have to become image makers, creating a buzz, making sure that it looks good in the pictures. The screen has to scream, baby. That's the rule. Loudness is the new cool. And not only in fashion, you know. I prefer whispering. Unquote. He was really re-questioning the role of fashion, the role to play by fashion designers, the image of the ideal woman vehiculated through looks and pictures by the fashion industry, and the possible impacts all of this could have. He clearly positioned himself against this star system, against this ideal of woman, of the fashion industry, more about selling and making profits than thinking about the needs of its audience. His brand AZ Factory also has the well-being of women in mind. Alber Elbaz thought AZ Factory as a clothing brand, helping women to solve their daily challenges with an offering at an accessible price, well, depending of course on your clothing budget, sold directly to them without the craze of seasons and changing collections, without the diktat of size, while using technology to create functional beauty. In an interview he gave to the New York Times in January 2021, Alber Elbaz said, quote, "I asked myself, if I was a woman, what would I want? Something that is first comfortable, something fun, something that lets me eat a big piece of cake." Unquote. And I so love this vision. It's so not what we currently see in the fashion industry. The message being quite the opposite. Don't eat a big piece of cake. Don't eat cake if you want to put my designs on. Don't you think it's a beautiful declaration of love for women? Letting them eat cake and being dressed in designer clothes without feeling guilty? And this is this philosophy that you couldn't find stated on the missions on AZ Factory's website. Designing smart fashion that cares, beautiful, practical, and solution-driven fashion that works for everyone, designing products to solve problems and creating joy. The Love Brings Love show came as a wish of Alber Elbaz to bring together his fashion family. The show was inspired by Le Théâtre de la Mode, the theater of fashion, and the objectives were to show the theater of fashion today, as well as to pay tribute to the designer. Organized at the initiative of the Chambre syndicale de la haute couture parisienne, the first Théâtre de la Mode took place in 1945-1946 as a touring exhibition whose objectives were to show the creativity and craftsmanship of the French designers and thus reviving the French fashion industry post-Second World War, as well as to raise funds for the survivors of the war. Around 200 French couturiers, fashion brands, modelists, millionaires, jewelers, and so on participated in it. The exhibition was composed of dolls dressed in the last fashion from Paris. Around 180 dolls measuring between 70 and 80 centimeters were created alongside 14 sets representing the symbolic views of Paris. The show started in Paris on March 28, 1945, at le Musée des Arts Décoratifs, and then would go to Barcelona, Zurich, Vienna, London, Stockholm, Copenhagen, New York, Montreal, and other main cities, to end in San Francisco. Following the same principle, the Love Brings Love show showcased outfits of 46 fashion designers who paid tribute to the creativity, personality, and craft of Alber Elbaz. Each invited designer took a particular aspect of Elbaz's signature style: volume, sense of humor, trapping, colors, neckties, hearts, and reinterpreted them with their own creative signature. Among the 46 designers, you would find Sarah Burton from Alexander McQueen, Olivier Roustan from Balmain, Maria Grazia Chiuri from Christian Dior, Rei Kawakubo from Comme des Garçons, Iris van Herpen, Jean-Paul Gaultier, Lanvin, Ralph Lauren, Saint Laurent, Daniel Roseberry from Schiaparelli, Stella McCartney, Vivienne Westwood, and more. A true melting pot of styles transcended to create a beautiful show, an emotionally strong homage, a true love declaration from the fashion world to a designer. Even for Karl Lagerfeld, there wasn't such an assembly of so many designers to create a tribute show. Or at least, I didn't find the information. If as me you are a bit sad to have missed this event, then feel reassured. The Parisian Fashion Museum Palais Galliera is organizing an exhibition dedicated to it from March the 5th to July the 10th, 2022. And according to the description of the exhibition on the museum's website, it will be an immersive experience inside the show, which took place at the Carreau du Temple in October 2021 through the music, lights, and effects. And follow me on Instagram at my Fashion Stories Box podcast, as you can imagine, I will, of course, go to this new exhibition and share with you my impressions. In the meantime, you can find the video and pictures of the show Love Brings Love on the internet. And let me know which designs from this show you like the most. And finally, let me conclude this episode with a beautiful quote from Alber Elbaz. We are on a journey to design beautiful, purposely, solution-driven fashion that works for everyone. We are life, not just lifestyle, a place to experiment and try new things our way. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode of my Fashion Stories Box podcast on the runway show Love Brings Love, dedicated to the late Alber Elbaz. Feel free to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen your podcasts, to connect with me on Instagram and Facebook, and to have a look at my blog to complete the podcast with some visuals. And if you like my podcast, feel free to leave a comment or a review. I would really appreciate it. I am Catherine, and this is my Fashion Stories Box podcast, a podcast about stories in fashion history. See you next week for a new Fashion Stories Box.